Hi guys, so let's talk about support and resistance. I'm going to talk to you about what support and resistance is, how you can identify these levels on a chart, and how they can help you in your trading. I'm sorry about any little squeaks that you can hear. I've got two little cockatiels that are flying around me right now, and they tend to be a bit more noisy when I'm talking on the phone or doing a video. Right, so let's have a look at some charts first of all. I'm going to take you back to an area where I've got none of my existing lines on there. So this is the S&P 500. I trade with capital.com. And I'm trading through TradingView. This software, you can get a discount on this if you click on the link in the description below. So you can access many different brokers through TradingView. As I say, I'm with capital.com. Which I like. So let's just get into what support and resistance is. So support and resistance is where there's lots of buying pressure on a chart or lots of selling pressure. It's a particular level, price level, where the big institutional investors are going to be buying or selling at that level. Likely to be buying or selling, more or less, more, high volume. So for example, I can see here, the way you identify it is where the price has rebounded away from a particular level several times. You want it to have happened about at least 3 times. Sometimes it happens a lot more. Because the S&P 500 is quite bullish, it's not always easy to identify the levels on this type of chart because you can see it's just going straight up. I'm on the daily time frame currently. So let me see now. So there's one here, you can see it's touched it almost here, here, touched it loads of times here. Look how many times it's rebounded away here. And then what happens is anything that's a support anything that's a resistance, like here, when it's touching it underneath and it's trying to push upwards, it's known as a resistance level. And then when it breaks through, what happens is the resistance ends up forming a support for higher prices. So you can see here this level, the price touched this level several times as it was trying to break through, and then when it finally did, it had a little bit of a pullback, healthy pullback, and it touched this level again as a support, and now it's rebounded away from that level. So, and you can see here this level, it was respecting a level that was already in place miles and miles before that point in time. I bet if we go back further, yeah, it wasn't that high. So what tends to happen is that level, the markets have a long memory and they remember levels from a long time ago. So the point is, how can this help you in your trading? So you want to be aware of these levels, because if there's going to be a lot of buying pressure here, because people are expecting the price to rebound away, and more importantly, the big institutional investors are expecting this price to rebound away from this level, what that means is, it's going to support the price going higher. If you get in here, you want to buy here and then sell as it goes higher, or the opposite is true the other way round. If this is a solid level here, it's touched it there, it's touched it there, then there could be an argument that the price, there's a good chance of the price rebounding away from this level in a sell position. So it did rebound away from this level, only slightly, because this market's in a strong uptrend. So what you can, what would be good for you to bear in mind is that when you're making trades, you want to get a little trade in near this level. So you want to do your support and resistance levels, mark where they are on a higher time frame structure, and then zoom in on a lower time frame to identify how you're going to get in and out of your trade and plan your trade. If you want to understand more about that, you can get that on my multiple time frame analysis video. It's in my YouTube channel in my structured course playlist. That is actually critical knowledge for you to be able to trade the stock market as well. So I've just drawn another level here. You can see what I've done is touched it here, bounced on it here, bounced on it here, bounced here, bounced here, bounced here, smashed through it there, but came back up. So you can see, like when you're drawing these levels, you want them to be levels that really stick out, like you know, really strongly. If I just look at another chart, this is the Euro USD chart. Let's have a look at this one. See if I can identify any levels. If it's a bit iffy and it's not clear, don't just consider it's not a level. So there's a strong one here, I think. You can see it's touching it all the way through. There, 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 there. Kind of touched it there and then went back up, but it smashed through it a little bit. There again, it's touched it about 6 or 7 times here. I also had one on the chart already, which I put there just recently, so you can see this one's actually not that clear. If they're not that clear, sometimes I just take them off, because the point of this is you want them to be really strong. I'm going to take that one off. Okay, so that's where I put the support level on this one. Might be able to see some smaller ones. This one is quite choppy. I want to show you another example. Let me see. Silver. The trouble is the markets are in a bit of a bubble right now where they've been sailing sky high, and they're all in this sort of extremely bullish pattern where they've just gone sky high upwards. So you can see these levels best on stocks which are going back and forth, up and down, maybe between 2 different levels. Here on Tesla there's a really strong level here. I'm going to show you. Right, can you see how many times? If you identified it here, and then it's got history to it, because if I go back after I drew the line on the chart, I can see even back here it was touching it too. So this is where it started. It was consolidating here, touched it several times here, then it smashed through. It became a resistance. It was a support here, now it's become a resistance. Smashed up again, now it's become a support, now it's a support, now it's a resistance, now it's a resistance, now it's a support. Here it's a support, here it's a support, here's a support. So this one has touched that level, you know, about 10 times back and forth since around March 21. That's, you know, 3 or 4 years ago. So you can see how many times, how long the market's memory is. So when you're doing your analysis on your charts, you want to be aware of these levels, especially on the daily time frame, because you might be planning a trade and it may be that there's a really old level from 3 years ago that you haven't identified, and it's going to block you from getting to your profit target. So these levels are really important. They're absolutely fundamental when you're doing technical analysis. So the way they can help you to make profit, if you're smart about using these levels, you know, if it's touched this level several times and then you've reached this position on this chart where we're here and the price is descending down, you can start planning a trade here. You can say, okay, the price is coming down. I know it's probably going to rebound away from this level because it's done it several times before. And then look what happened. It did. So as I say, we're on the daily time frame. I consider this to be one of my higher time frames. So if I was planning a trade here, I wouldn't be planning to get in here and take the price all the way up here to my target. It would be a microscopic trade that I would be placing on maybe the 10-minute time frame, the 30-minute time frame within this little space here. So we're at a major level of support, and the distance by which it needs to climb for you to get to your target within a smaller zoomed in time frame is only tiny. So it's helping the probability of that trade being a success. You need to look at my multiple time frame analysis video to understand what I'm talking about there. So I hope you found this video helpful. I've also got an article on my blog which I've linked below, and it talks about these types of levels slowly if you're the type of person that likes to read and see things, you know, like you're reading a book. I've got my blog article linked below. So I hope you found this helpful, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.